We are counting down the 10 once standard boat products that are now outlawed by modern regulations. From legendary paints that kept hulls spotless for decades, to everyday chemicals and engines now treated like toxic waste, each of these items used to be a staple in every boater's arsenal until the Environmental Protection Agency and state agencies pulled them from the shelves and threatened massive fines or bans for anyone still holding on. Some of the products on this list are disappearing quietly, while others could get your boat denied service, grounded, or even evicted from the marina. Which ban will hit your wallet the hardest? And what everyday product lurking in your locker could make you the next enforcement target? Let us unveil the list, starting with number 10. In 10th place, Tributyltin antifouling paint stands as the textbook example of a product that worked too well for its own good. For decades, TBT kept hulls spotless. No barnacles, no slime, just bare metal or fiberglass slicing through the water. But the same chemical that made fouling a thing of the past also rewrote the biology of entire coastlines. By the 1990s, studies showed up to 20% of whelks near marinas had changed sex, a phenomenon called imposex, thanks to TBT leaching from boat bottoms. The International Maritime Organization drew the line in 2008, banning TBT worldwide. Today, if a boatyard suspects TBT on your hull, you are not just facing a dirty look, you are looking at outright refusal of service. Haul out denied. Removal is not a do-it-yourself job either. Certified sandblasting and hazardous waste disposal cost anywhere from $2,000 to $15,000, depending on boat size. The days of zero fouling are over. Now, just having TBT on your boat can make it unsellable and too toxic for the yard to touch. Number 9. Red lead. Primer lingers as a warning from a different era of boat building. For generations, this vivid orange paint was the gold standard for keeping rust at bay on steel hulls, boats that braved salt water for decades without a spot of corrosion. But lead is a potent neurotoxin, and regulations today treat red lead like hazardous waste. Sanding or removing it is not a weekend project. OSHA rules require full-body hazmat suits, sealed containment, and HEPA vacuums just to keep toxic dust out of the air. The EPA classifies any uncontrolled sanding as a violation, and abatement jobs routinely run $3,000 to $8,000 or more for a single 40-foot trawler. Surveyors now carry lead test kits to every inspection, and a positive result can kill a sale on the spot. Even if you never touch the stuff, just having red lead on your hull means disposal manifests, contractor paperwork, and a shrinking pool of buyers willing to take on the risk. In 8th place, copper-based anti-fouling paints are the ticking time bomb in every modern hull. For years, copper replaced TBT as the go-to for keeping slime and barnacles off, and today nearly every recreational boat under 65 feet relies on it. But the tide is turning. Washington State's much-publicized copper ban has been postponed again, but not cancelled, and the Department of Ecology now targets 2029 for its next review, citing a lack of proven alternatives. California already capped copper leach rates in 2018, forcing marinas to monitor water quality and threatening haul-out bans if sediment levels spike. Across the Atlantic, parts of Europe restrict copper in sensitive harbors, and the EPA is eyeing national leach limits that would make high copper paints obsolete. The science is blunt. Copper accumulates in marina mud, reaching levels that are toxic to salmon and other marine life. Boaters face a shrinking window to plan their next haul-out. Silicone-based and hard coat options exist, but they demand more prep and cost. Waiting for the law to catch up means risking a stranded boat and a hefty compliance bill. Carbureted two-stroke outboards have become the mechanical outlaws of the modern marina. For decades, these engines were the backbone of recreational boating, the unmistakable blue smoke, the roar at full throttle, the smell of gas and oil on the water. Yamaha Enduro, Johnson, Evinrude, names that meant reliability and raw power. But that era is over. Emission standards set by the Environmental Protection Agency and the California Air Resources Board drew a hard line in the sand around 2006, ending the production and sale of new carbureted two-strokes in the United States. The push was not just about new sales. Waterways like Lake Tahoe phased out these engines entirely by 2010, citing clarity and air quality. In Europe, Stage 2 emission zones mean old-school two-strokes are banned from entire lakes and rivers. The trap for owners is subtle but expensive. Possession is not illegal, but using an old carbureted two-stroke in the wrong place can get you fined or kicked off the water. Some marinas and launch ramps post outright bans, and local enforcement varies from warning stickers to $1,000 penalties. Forums are full of stories of owners forced to sell their classics or face a $2,000 fine for launching in the wrong zone. The real kicker is parts are vanishing. Many Johnson and Evinrude models have not seen a new carb kit in years. Mechanics charge a premium for whatever is left, and used parts are a gamble. Not all two-strokes are on the chopping block. Direct injection models like Evinrude E-Tech and Mercury Optimax still pass emissions and remain legal in most places. But the classic carbureted engine is now a red flag for enforcement. The only way forward is repowering, swapping out the old iron for a compliant four-stroke or an electric motor. That is not a small bill. Depending on horsepower, a full repower runs from $5,000 to $15,000, not counting labor, rigging, or controls. For many, that is more than the boat is worth. The nostalgia is real. Those engines ran forever, and every mechanic has a story about one that survived decades of abuse. But the rules are real too. If you are still running a carbureted two-stroke, check your local regulations, look for the telltale bans, and start budgeting for the inevitable. The mechanical pain points begin here, and the cost of compliance is only going up. R22 refrigerant is the silent trap waiting inside thousands of older boat air conditioning systems. For decades, R22, better known as Freon, was the backbone of marine cooling. Open up the data plate on any marine AC unit built before 2010, and odds are you will see those three characters stamped at the top. But the game changed for good on January 1st, 2020. That is when the Environmental Protection Agency, following the Montreal Protocol, ended all production and import of new R22 in the United States. What remains in circulation now is reclaimed gas, scavenged from old systems, and the price has gone through the stratosphere, $100 to $300 per pound if you can even find a certified supplier willing to sell it. The real shock comes when a line cracks or a compressor fails. Under Environmental Protection Agency rules, only a Section 608 certified technician can legally handle or recharge R22. If your system leaks, topping it off is not just expensive, it is nearly impossible. The supply is so tight that most technicians will not even bother. Instead, you are looking at a full system replacement, compressor, and all. For a typical boat, that means a bill between $3,000 and $10,000, depending on size and complexity. There is no legal way to import cheaper gas, and any attempt to use a substitute refrigerant without proper retrofitting can destroy the unit or void insurance. Some owners try to roll the dice, running on borrowed time and hoping for another season out of their legacy system. But every year, more marinas and service yards are refusing to touch R22 units entirely. Liability is too high and the paperwork is a nightmare. Even if you find a back-channel supply, the Environmental Protection Agency is cracking down on illegal imports and unlicensed servicing, with fines that can easily outstrip the value of the entire boat. The bottom line is clear. If your marine air conditioning still runs on R22, check the data plate now and start budgeting for a replacement. The age of topping off with Freon is over. Every leak is a one-way ticket to the scrapyard. The cost of staying cool just became the next big hit to the boating wallet. Number 5. Halon fire extinguishers are safety relics that have become a regulatory minefield for boat owners. For decades, Halon 1211 and Halon 1301 were the gold standard, knocking down engine room fires without leaving a powdery mess behind. That clean suppression made them prized on yachts packed with electronics, but it came at a steep cost to the ozone layer. The Montreal Protocol slammed the door shut on new Halon production in 1994, and the EPA made it clear no more manufacturing and no more import. Whatever stock existed could be recycled, but once your extinguisher discharged, the refill path got narrower every year. Here is the trap. On paper, you can keep a Halon unit if it is serviceable, but in practice, the odds are stacked against you. Certified Halon refillers are vanishing, and the cost for recycled Halon has soared past $100 per pound. Discharge that bottle, accidentally or in a real fire, and you are left with a dead canister. There is no legal way to top it off unless you find one of the few certified facilities willing to handle marine units, and even then, you are at the mercy of dwindling supply and four-figure bills. The Coast Guard does not automatically fail you for having Halon, but expired tags, leaks, or missing inspection records will get flagged, and many surveyors now recommend immediate replacement. Boatyards and insurers are increasingly wary, treating legacy Halon systems as obsolete and a liability. The only way forward is retrofit to FM200 or Noveki 1230, both of which meet modern fire codes and environmental standards. Expect to pay from $500 to $2,000 per system, plus installation. The message is blunt. If you are still relying on Halon, the next inspection or accidental discharge could turn a safety asset into a compliance headache. Check your tags, budget for an upgrade, and do not wait for the day your extinguisher fails when you need it most. Number 4. Formaldehyde base holding tank treatments, better known as the blue stuff, are now a legal landmine for boaters in California and a growing number of marinas nationwide. For decades, a splash of this chemical kept boatheads odor-free and waste liquefied, but that convenience comes with a hidden cost. Formaldehyde is a powerful biocide. The same ingredient that stops your tank from smelling destroys the bacteria every marina septic system depends on to break down waste. Dump a tank treated with formaldehyde into a communal pump-out, and you risk killing off the very microbes that keep the system running. The result? Septic backups, failed leach fields, and contaminated groundwater. That is why California passed a statewide ban in 2022. That is also why marina contracts now routinely include eviction clauses for anyone caught using these treatments. Harbor masters are not bluffing. If your tank tests positive, you can lose your slip or be denied pump-out service on the spot. The Environmental Protection Agency has flagged formaldehyde as a probable carcinogen, but the immediate risk for boaters is practical. Use it, and you could be out of the marina before your next weekend cruise. The solution is simple, but urgent. Enzyme and bacteria-based alternatives are not just legal, they are actually more effective in the long run, and they are welcomed by every pump-out operator. If you are still reaching for the blue bottle, it is time to make the switch now, before the next inspection turns your holding tank into grounds for eviction. Number 3. Single-use 1-pound propane cylinders are about to disappear from California shelves, and the ripple is spreading fast. These green bottles have been a staple in every boat locker for decades, fueling grills, heaters, and camp stoves with zero thought about what happens after the last flame. But starting in 2028, California's Senate Bill 1256 will ban the sale of disposable propane cylinders, forcing boaters to switch to refillable or exchange systems. The reason is simple. Billions of empties end up as hazardous waste, costing cities and marinas millions in cleanup and disposal fees. Retailers are already phasing out stock, and fines for improper disposal can be as much as $500 per bottle. The fix is straightforward. Refillable cylinders are available for about $20, and exchange programs are popping up at most marine stores. Making the swap now isn't just legal insurance, it is a way to avoid the next round of locker purges and surprise fines. Number 2. Two-part acid teak cleaners are now a regulatory tripwire for boat owners who want spotless decks, but risk a hefty fine every time they rinse. These classic cleaners, usually a caustic part A followed by an acid part B, strip away decades of grime in minutes, leaving teak bright and raw. The problem is what happens next. Rinsing that acid overboard or onto the dock is a direct violation of EPA hazardous runoff rules and can trigger MARPOL citations in any harbor. Marinas increasingly demand full containment. Every drop of rinse water must be caught in a bucket or on a tarp and then disposed of as hazardous waste. Fines for non-compliance can reach thousands of dollars, and enforcement is ramping up as water quality testing expands. Safer alternatives exist, including mechanical scrubbing, oxalic acid gels, and low-acid cleaners that do not require containment. For anyone still reaching for the old two-part system, it is time to adapt or risk a surprise citation at your next haul-out. And finally, in first place, classic oil-based varnishes like Z-Spa are fading from boatyards, victims of the EPA crackdown on volatile organic compounds. For decades, these high VOC formulas gave woodwork that deep amber glow and a finish tough enough to shrug off salt and sun for up to 5 years. But under NESHAP and California limits on volatile organic compounds, those cans are vanishing, reformulated, or outright banned. The replacements? Water-based urethanes that last 2, maybe 3 seasons before peeling under ultraviolet and salt spray. It's not just nostalgia. Every extra recoat means more sanding, more labor, and a higher bill over the life of the boat. The math is brutal. What once cost a weekend and a gallon now stretches into a cycle of constant touch-ups and wallet drain. The golden era of long-lasting varnish is over, replaced by a world of short-term shine and permanent maintenance headaches. Across all 10 entries, one pattern is clear. Progress. In environmental law means losing the products that defined boating's golden age. Each ban draws a sharp line between what worked for boats and what works for nature. The cost is not just financial, it is a shift in how we maintain, repair, and even sell our vessels. The future is cleaner, but it is rewriting every old rule. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below.